We've located some Kleenex around the room. Hey, Club Mate sales end at 6 p.m. on the mezzanine level. So if you decided you like this stuff, take the opportunity. As I've mentioned before, we do need to keep the aisles clear for fire code purposes. Please be cooperative with our friendly security folks. A couple more things going on in the conference still tonight. After closing ceremonies, we're going to be calling for a lot of help for cleaning up, and stick around. There's also going to be giveaways at that time, and folks who stick around to clean up, we do have a few volunteer shirts left over. Should be a pretty good time. So, what are we here for? Who?
We interrupt this program with a special bulletin. America is now under martial law. All constitutional rights have been suspended. Stay in your homes. Do not attempt to contact loved ones, insurance agents. Do not attempt to contact loved ones, insurance agents, or attorneys. Shut up! Do not attempt to think, or depression may occur. Stay in your homes. Curfew is at 7 p.m. sharp after work. Anyone caught outside the gates of their subdivisions after curfew will be shot. Remain calm. Do not panic. Your neighborhood watch officer will be by to collect urine samples in the morning. Anyone interfering with the collection of urine samples will be shot. Houses will be inspected for trace elements at noon. Anyone failing to display the mandatory embossed black velvet Mexican-style painting of King George Bush II on their living room wall will be shot. To further protect private property against terrorist attacks, cameras and surveillance equipment will be placed on all lamp posts and streetlights. Anyone failing to attend morning school prayer and prescribed worship services on Sunday will be promptly arrested and dispatched to a re-education resort. Stay in your homes. Remain calm. The number one enemy of progress is questions. National security is more important than individual rights. Under the provisions of the War on Drugs, Zero Tolerance, and the Child Protection and Obscenity Enforcement Act, all property and life savings of suspected drug users and suspected pornographers will be seized and sold prior to trial. Anyone opposing this policy will be presumed to be under the influence of drugs and shipped immediately to boot camp to serve a sentence of hard labor beneath an inflatable statue of Nancy Reagan being humped by Samuel Alito. Sports broadcasts will proceed as scheduled. No more than 2 people may gather anywhere without permission. Use only the drugs prescribed by your coach, your boss, or your supervisor. Shut up. Be happy. Obey all orders without question. Shut up. The comfort you've demanded is now mandatory. At last, everything is done for you. Now I have to take off my reading glasses. Thanks once again for coming on down here. Should I stay? Oh, a better place to put this than here. Did anybody see that magazine cover? I can't remember whether it was Time or Newsweek, Newsweek. When Pope John Paul II died, they had a picture of him and his laying in the open casket and all. Bad PR move, Catholic Church. And at least with people like that, they burn the bodies publicly in India. But anyway, it said something God, so I just cut that part out and put it on my fridge, a dead pope with God written above it. And I thought that was such a wonderful symbol for real organized religion today and all. Anyway, as one of my least favorite bands once put it, what a long, strange trip it's been. We don't get to see Hillary Clinton and Rudy Giuliani beat the crap out of each other for 6 solid months after all. I was so looking forward to that. Giuliani spent $40 million to get 1 delegate. Another real fun stuff from that election. Number 1, to get people munching down greasy chicken in Iowa to pull straws for him, Mike Huckabee, the fundamentalist Christian guy, had a death metal band in his tent. I wonder what the lyrics were. And Mitt Romney told a reporter that his favorite book wasn't the Book of Mormon, it was Battlefield Earth. You know, stuff like this makes my eyes pop out of my head. I saved them to regurgitate them just for you. A waffle, partly eaten by Barack Obama, was put up for auction on eBay. Hey, he chewed it, man. There's DNA on there. You could frame him for crimes. Bids went up to $20,000 before eBay shut it down. Bush is bullying countries in Eastern Europe to allow us to put missiles there in Eastern Europe just in case Iran attacks. Poland. Allah Akbar, God is great. Let's go attack the Czech Republic. That'll show them. You know, all this justified saying it's Iran, even though Iran gave us $500 million when we invaded Afghanistan, and we turned around and called them the axis of evil. For that worried about Iran, why not use the old Soviet bases empty in Azerbaijan right now, next door? California. Yet another group of people learned the hard way that if you don't want your dream home you build out in the woods burned, don't build it there. Less publicized is that Bush administration has drastically cut the budget for firefighting, and there are several hundred vacancies at the moment. That's partly why so many fires burned. Finally, in 2008, Nelson Mandela was removed from our terrorist watch list. Which meant, under the current laws that a lot of Democrats, including Obama, support, you could have gone to Guantanamo Bay just for giving him a ride to the airport or something. Yeah. And those lovely $300, or if you're really lucky, $600 worth of Bush stimulus checks to save our economy seem to coincide with a sudden rise in business reported by porno stores. Meanwhile, studies have been done of school children who were blindfolded and taught nothing about sex except Bush's abstinence-only program, and it discovered that they're compensating by doing a lot of oral sex and anal sex, thinking that won't get them pregnant. We're number 1. America is number 1 among industrial nations in murder rate, traffic fatalities, child poverty, overall poverty, debt per capita, per person, energy and water consumption, carbon dioxide emissions, and the percentage of our population locked up in prison. Biggest one in history there. Meanwhile, Bush has directed the Internal Revenue Service away from auditing rich people and even fired agents who specialized in that to concentrate on auditing poor people, including the 4th time for me. And now it wants to privatize IRS debt collection, which one IRS commission calculated would net the government a little over $1 billion over a decade, where if the IRS agents did it themselves, it would net $87 billion. Major labels, the Bush administration of the entertainment industry, now have seemed to have coldly calculated, who needs to put out anything any good? We long ago forgot how to do that when we can make most of our money suing housewives and teenagers for file sharing. And come on, like the Godfather with, you give us $5,000 and settle, and we'll go away. But wait a minute, I'm trying to pay my school bills. I'm going to MIT. Declare bankruptcy. Give us $5,000. They've collected $100 million so far with these shakedowns. How much of it has gone to artists? As far as I know, none. According to Rock and Rap Confidential, however, Sony BMG, 47% of the software on their own computers they use in the offices is in all likelihood pirated. Well, in the meantime, Sony BMG turns around and an offer to use a Dead Kennedy song in a redneck monster truck game called MotorStorm 2. They snuck into the deal. They get to give away free downloads all they want of somebody else's work. Radiohead tried to counter some of this by offering a new album where people could pay as much as little as they wanted to pay for it. And most Americans downloaded it for free. And EMI in Britain organized a focus group of teenagers to see what kind their tastes are like. They offered them free CDs, and the teenagers left without taking a single one. Maybe it's because it's all digital and iPod, or maybe it's just because all the CDs sucked and the kids knew it. Nowadays, sad to say, more money from music and entertainment. Well, I mean, the big one is games, even bigger than films, but where's the main money in music these days? Ringtones. Ringtones, which even Sony BMG guy calls wallpaper and stuff. And then, this worries me now that people are going to grow up young, ambitious. Boy, I know what I want to be and grow up. I don't want to be on stage in a band. I don't even want to be doing those stupid link sync videos or groveling before those snitty judges on American Idol singing the worst music ever made. No, I want to move up to the next level. I want to be a ringtone. NATO has hired a Coca-Cola executive to retool their brand. And the latest trendy fashion accessory, as promoted by Madonna and Angelina Jolie, among others, adopting African children as pets. A 17-year-old Dutch teenager was arrested for stealing almost $6,000 worth of furniture, virtual furniture, from a virtual hotel. And somebody on there.com paid $83 for a virtual Levi's jacket when he could have had a real one for $5 less. And the Swedish virtual world Entropia Universe had a turnover last year of $365 million. As I think it was W.C. Fields said, there's a sucker born every minute. According to Harper's Magazine, 16 million barrels of oil a couple years ago were used to make water bottles. And it takes twice as much water to make bottled water as is actually contained in the bottle of bottled water. Meanwhile, the U.S. Army is now demanding that soldiers who re-enlisted and got a bonus and then were gravely maimed and wounded return that portion of the bonus for when they can't fight in the armed forces anymore. Yeah, support our troops, right? I mean, another thing I've heard from inside is if you try to get examined for post-traumatic stress syndrome, they ship you back to Iraq. Only anybody would be nuts to go there, so I guess we'll send you back. Meanwhile, Iraq, when they finally get any money, are being forced to pay it down to people who already have money in reparations for the Gulf War. Money to Kuwait, money to the Saudis, all brokered by one of the worst gangsters of our time, James Baker, who not only was appointed to negotiate down the reparations debt, but at the same time is working for the Kuwaiti government to collect as much of it as possible. But 78% of the war reparations aren't going to these countries at all. They're going to global corporations. 18 million to Halliburton, 7 million to Bechtel, and this is a couple-year-old statistic. 2.3 to ExxonMobil, 2.6 to Nestle, 3.8 million to Pepsi, 321 grand to KFC, and almost 200 grand to Toys R Us. War reparations. We have the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, now the Homeland Security industrial complex. Who knows, some of you may be working there. I'm sure there's recruiters who knew enough to show up. 70% of our intelligence budget now is going to private companies. Who are they working for? Who is working for them? The brain drain at Homeland Security is so bad because of this, they have trouble hanging on to people because they keep going to work for higher amounts of money from other people, just like soldiers quitting the military to work for Blackwater. And among those who've switched over are Tom Ridge, the old head of Homeland Security, and George Tenet, who's on the board of the people who make the fingerprint ID devices that he wrote into law we had to use before he resigned and went to work selling fingerprint devices. Eric Prince, who married into the Amway family and started Blackwater, now envisions a day when every single transnational corporation will be so hated because of the way they behave, they will all have to hire Blackwater to protect their executives in foreign countries. And the research group globalsecurity.org reported that for every insurgent we kill in Iraq, we fire 250,000 bullets. And the Defense Department admits it costs $400,000 per year to keep each soldier in Iraq. $400,000 per soldier. Joseph Stiglitz, the Nobel Prize winning economist who ran the World Bank for a while, said the total for this war ultimately will probably be $3 trillion. More than our annual budget. Nobody talked about $1 trillion, let alone $1 trillion deficits, until the Bush administration and their Democratic enablers went wild on this. Among the people sucking away the $3 trillion, a study was done on Halliburton and some of their subsidiaries, and this was done by the American government concurring with the total the UN came up with, that no, they didn't just steal $60 million. The total is closer to $2.7 billion, the largest robbery in the history of the world, and not a peep about bringing them to justice from people like Barack Obama. A near attack on an American boat in the Persian Gulf by Iranian rubber rafts. Oh my God, it's rubber rafts. They're attacking an American ship. Oh no, we got to go to war now. Oh, we are going to shoot you any minute. That communique turned out to be a hacker prank that the American media still doesn't admit it happened. And that missile photo of a few days ago with an extra one put in, did the Iranians put it there or did Bush and Cheney put it there? Josh Wolf, independent media journalist and blogger in San Francisco, went to jail longer than any reporter ever has in American history on the grounds that he wasn't a journalist because he wasn't getting paid. And those big porcelain balls you find on top of the TV sets in this hotel, what are they really for? Mr. Steele, Mr. Rambam, come clean, please. TSA has announced that the security scanners that do see right through your clothes and X-ray vision are now being installed as we speak at 10 American airports. Boobs, balls, and cucumbers of desire clearly visible to someone in a separate room. Just wait till this becomes portable and hits the black market. So thieves can see in advance who's got a laptop in their bag and know who to rob. But of course you can't convict them because they knew enough to leave their driver's license with the RFID chip in it at home, thus proving to the post-CSI jury that they couldn't possibly have been at the crime scene. Have you ever wondered who the Eraserhead baby would be as an adult? Well, I have, and the answer is right in front of us. It's so obvious. Think about this for a minute. John McCain. I mean, some of these are so obvious. Like, most of you have seen, what's the name of the TV show on Comedy Central where the woman gets out of jail and goes back to high school? Yeah, Strangers with Candy, Jerry Blank, Nancy Pelosi. I mean, think about that one. You'll never be able to look at one without thinking of the other ever again.
Our main purpose is to get the troops out of Iraq, but we have to vote more money because that supports the troops.
No, it doesn't. It supports Halliburton, and they all know that. And Pelosi was well aware of waterboarding for years in intelligence briefings and did nothing about it. The Eraserhead baby, the elderly Eraserhead baby, among other things, he wants to kick Russia out of the G8, legalize hate crimes and possession of a machine gun, and voted for the Military Commissions Act, the one that legalizes torture, waterboarding, rendition, where you kidnap somebody from one country and torture them to another, and legalize military tribunals where the defendant isn't allowed to see the evidence and no appeal, they just kill you. In other words, all the things we entered World War II to stop the Nazis from doing for us. Doing to us. I mean, anybody who supported the Military Commissions Act ain't no better than a fucking Nazi as far as I'm concerned. And there's some Democrats on that list too. McCain also says that Christians are more fit. God, I gotta get my imitations of these guys down. I need chewing tobacco in my jaw for him, but are more fit to be president of the United States. Since this nation was founded primarily on Christian principles, I prefer someone who has a solid grounding in my faith. So, does that mean we're all going to vote for Ron Paul, right? Well, okay, I don't understand the gaga thing about Ron Paul. He's good on the war and he's good on drugs, but check out his views on abortion. Check out his views on immigrants. Check out the attacks he made in the 90s on gays, Jews, and especially African Americans, claiming the Rodney King riots ended only because it, quote, it came time for the blacks to pick up their welfare checks. Yeah, he told Tim Russert last December, the Talking Onion on Meet the Press, who died recently, that the '64 Civil Rights Act was a violation of property rights, and that Lincoln started the Civil War to get rid of the original intent of the Republic. Although he may be right on that one, it was white slave owners who wrote the Constitution and said that only white male landowners could vote way back when. We've had a breather during the dark days of Bush, because so many other things are going so bad, from the so-called culture wars, where every year or two you'd have things like Tipper Gore blaming Judas Priest and Ozzy for teen suicide and juvenile delinquency, then realizing black faces scare parents even more and going after Public Enemy, then Joseph Lieberman, your friend and mine, holding hearings in the Senate on why Marilyn Manson caused the Columbine shootings and all. Well, attacks on our freedom to read, listen, and think. And no matter which one of these clowns becomes president, that is coming back. Obama has said about games and the content, as far as taking away the edgier content that he doesn't happen to like, if the industry fails to act, then my administration would. While McCain has been a co-sponsor over the years of the Media Marketing and Accountability Act, co-sponsor Joseph Lieberman, Al Gore's vice president, who's now a little parrot wherever McCain goes. You always see him in the picture and stuff. The Media Marketing and Accountability Act was a one-size-fits-all rating system for movies, DVDs, music, and games, much nastier and more explicit and strict than the tipper sticker, the explicit lyric parental advisory. And it said that anybody who doesn't use the rating system, their products automatically become illegal. And if you try to, in other words, everything I've ever done. And if you try to sell something without the mark of the Lieberbeast, you can be fined by the Federal Trade Commission $11,000 per unit sold per day. Last time that bill came up, it had a third sponsor, Hillary Clinton. Surprise, surprise. But beware of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Is Obama the anti-Hillary? Judging from his voting record, I'm not even sure that's true. Granted, it would be kind of cool to have somebody in the White House whose first name rhymes with Iraq, whose middle name is Hussein, and his last name rhymes with Osama. And luckily, they're giving us another choice besides two royal dynasties, Bush Incorporated and the Hillbillies. But Obama looks all the more attractive as a leader precisely because he's never actually led. No defining issue or accomplishment except he's so cool. He's so cool. How can you not dig him? He's like the audacity of hope. Change we can believe in as long as it isn't too specific. He's so cool. And he is cool when you see him on TV. He's a wonderful speaker, comes across as a cool guy you could actually hang out and talk to, if only that was reflected in his voting record. Obama voted to make the Patriot Act permanent. Obama came out against the war early in 2002, but then when he was in a position of power, he keeps voting money to continue the war when he finally has the power to cut it off. And watch his language on the war very carefully. He's a very clever lawyer, after all. He says that my first act will be to tell the Pentagon to find a way to end the war. Withdraw the troops. To where? Ending the war does not mean taking the troops out. And Obama has also said he doesn't really want to take the troops out. He wants to leave as many as 80,000 of them and calls for protecting American enclaves like the Green Zone. Yo, the Green Zone belongs to the Iraqis. We stole it. It's at least, what, a third of the size? The Green Zone isn't Obama. Saddam's palace, like the few buildings like they show in the aerial photo. I've seen one of the whole thing, and it's maybe a third the size or more of Manhattan. It's all the downtown real estate, and we stole it all. People can't drive to work on all the boulevards anymore. It doesn't belong to us. We need to leave. And surely he's aware that we've put almost $800 million into the largest embassy ever built by a factor of 10 right along the river in the Green Zone, although it's a tiny dot on the Green Zone photo, even though it's, what, the size of 80 football fields. 3,000 Americans expected to work there. Wall 20 feet thick around it, got its own missile system inside, its own water supply, its own electricity supply, since we never bothered to fix the Iraqis. Just gave money to Bechtel. They didn't fix it, and that was the end of that. And basically, but what does this say to the Iraqis when it's the closest thing to us finishing a project on time? The real goal, and Obama and Hillary and Pelosi know it, is to never, ever leave. I mean, at least Ted Koppel was honest on Charlie Rose a few nights ago when he said, oh, well, the talking walnut or the clamshell on his head and stuff, but well, we have to have 50,000 troops somewhere in that area, and we have nowhere else left to go. How about the Iraqis? Even the puppet we put in as the so-called president is telling us to get out now. And many of you know that Obama completely reversed course with a calculated stabbing in the back of every single person in this room, where after initially threatening to filibuster the new law legalizing all of the NSA's illegal wiretaps on people and letting the phone company off the hook for spying, phone companies off the hook for spying on us as well, he turned around and voted yes and gave Bush and Cheney damn near everything they wanted and a lot more than they expected. legalizing the exact same crimes that got Nixon thrown out of office during Watergate. And don't forget, when it was revealed that Bush was doing this, they took a poll, I think it was CNN, and over half the country wanted Bush impeached at that point. But oh no, Jerry Blank, Nancy Pelosi,
No, no, impeachment is off the table. Support the troops.
in